Welcome, everyone, to this session of our March 2026 Small Cap Conference. I'm Alex Hantman, and I serve as an equity research analyst here at Sidoti and Company. Today, we're pleased to be in conversation with CEO Danny Young and CFO Stephen Lowe of Prenetics, ticker PRE. During the presentation, please feel welcome to submit questions using the Zoom Q&A interface at the bottom of your screen. After the presentation, we'll open to your questions. And with that, Danny, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Alex. Good morning, everyone. My name is Danny Young, co-founder and CEO of Prenetics. So today I want to tell everyone about Prenetics and IM8. We had a breakout growth story in 2025. Um, just to recap, executive summary, right? In 2025, we achieved approximately 92 million in full year revenue, driven by the explosive launch of IM8, in which we reached 120 million ARR in its first full year of operations. Very importantly, a lot of you guys may have been following Prenetics. We actually previously had a quite complicated uh, yeah, corporate structure, I would say, in which we have multiple business units. We've now successfully divested all of our non-core assets, given the significant growth opportunity we have with IM8. We now believe we have a very clear roadmap to profitability by Q4 of 2027. We also have a very robust balance sheet. As of today, roughly about 160 million in liquid assets. And again, just highlighting executive summary here, 2025, 92 million. This is inclusive of all the other business units, 120 million ARR run rate just alone on the IM8 business. 63% gross margins. We ended the year with that with IM8. Again, total liquidity just was a little bit outdated, when total liquidity stands at approximately 160 million as of today, with zero debt. As mentioned, we had a strategic transformation. We completed on that. So what did we do in terms of that transformation? Last October, we sold off ACT for 72 million in cash, in which Prenetics received approximately 46 million in cash. We also sold off Europa in an all-stock transaction for up to $13 million. And very recently, last month, we sold our entire stake in Insighta to Tencent for 70 million in cash. And why did we do that? Twofold, right? We saw the significant opportunity with IM8. At the same time, we also saw these other business units being, to be fair, it wasn't a non-core asset, and we felt that we can do significantly greater with the capital in hand to continue to grow IM8. So this gives you an idea in terms of where we're at. This is as of February, in terms of our cash position, financial assets, our escrow from ACT, the Tencent escrow. We also hold 510 Bitcoins. So this is where, as I mentioned, the most up-to-date figure is approximately 160 million. This shows you in terms of the breakdown, in terms of our revenues for 2025, and driven by IM8, we had a full year roughly about 60 million. Europa about 19, Circle DNA 12.9 million. So this makes up for the 90 million plus in revenues. Right? I think very interestingly, and this is where it gets quite exciting for us, is that basically our IM8 business is truly global. In fact, we ship to 31 countries globally, and we did this from the start. Roughly, US represents 40% of the overall business, Canada number 2, UK number 3, Australia number 4, Singapore number 5. But if you think about this, last year we did 60 mil, but only 24 million of that is in US. So we believe, for example, the US can easily support 150 to 200 million dollars in itself. In terms of the IM8 growth story, I'm sure everyone knows my very famous co-founder David Beckham. Backstory is that I met with David in middle part of 2023, just as a mutual friends introduction. We got along really well, as I'm sure you also know. Many people have, yeah, wanted David to do a supplement line. He's rejected until now. I think he was very intrigued about my background, yeah, as as both a e-commerce entrepreneur, being the previous CEO of Groupon East Asia after they acquired my company, as well as the last 10 years, Prenetics as a life sciences company. So the convergence of those two, consumer, life sciences, and lifestyle now made really a great combination. So that's why David agreed. We launched the brand in December of 2024. Our first month revenue, you can see, was about 581,000. We ended last year at 10 million monthly revenue. So yeah, at least from what we believe on record in a vitamins supplements category, it has never been recorded such phenomenal growth. And in terms of the unit economics, as you can see, this is actually data from full year 2025. Our average order value was approximately $110. Our CAC was $130. When we think about our 24-month LTV, we're looking at approximately $480, right? So I think if you look at DTC metrics, on a global basis, everyone wants to achieve roughly about 3x, and we are right exactly there. So I do believe while we're growing in a very efficient way from a customer acquisition perspective. And just to share, 100% of our business today is online, and it's transacted 98% on our own website, ima8health.com, and the other 2% is on Amazon. I think one thing that we also did very interestingly, in this quarter is that we introduced a quarterly option. So what that means is previously we only had a 1 month. We actually had one-time purchase, 1 month, and we introduced the 3 month option. And then so this, of course, uh, doubled our average order value to approximately $233. Our CAC also increased subsequently with the increase. But overnight wise, we pretty much doubled. I think from a company perspective, this will also help with retention because individuals are getting 3 months at a time. We're also shipping 3 months at a time. So we're able to save on shipping costs as well. And of course, if you're the customer wise, given that you have 3 months of product, you'll be much more likely to use the product on a daily basis and feel the effects. We also have 80% subscription rate. So any new customer coming to the platform, 80% of the time they're actually subscribing. And so this gives us very predictable and revenue. Now, in terms of the core of IM8 wise, of course, we have David, but at the same time, we also have an amazing scientific advisory board that we brought along from day one. The likes of Dr. Don from Mayo Clinic, Suzanne from Cedars-Sinai, Dr. James D. Nick, and so these individuals came together, to help us create the formulations. And I talk very closely with them, probably almost on a daily basis, to get insights, new product development, what they're seeing in the market. I think one of the things that's very unique about us, again, we have David as our co-founder. We've also brought along Arina Sabalenka last June, the world number one tennis player. And again, she was a user of the product for 3 months before she had her team reach out to us. So that's quite amazing that you have someone that is at the top of their game, using this product with their coaches on the product, her families on the product. Last month we also announced Ollie Bearman, again, one of the youngest, British F1 drivers, also come on board as an ambassador. And all three individuals are not just ambassadors, but they're also shareholders in Prenetics. I think this gives you an idea in terms of how viral we became on social media. There's one video on Instagram, on our page, IMA Health. You guys can see on the media channels that we had 233 million views on one video that was created with AI. So when we're getting that much of reach, those becomes much, much easier for us to retarget these individuals that have seen the video, right? So I think this was probably, I think the number one video from any brand on social media in all of 2025. Um, we also run a lot of events, in-person events, with our key ambassadors, Miami, London, New York. So every 2 to 3 months, I think this is also a very important part of the brand because while we are online, we utilize the offline element to connect with our community around the world. It's always been very well received. And so we get lots of content this way as well. Right? We have tons of customer testimonials online. I know right now we have actually more than 16,000 five-star reviews in terms of how it's helped individuals with their health, with their gut, with their sleep. So I think we have amazing stories that everyone can see on our website. We've been pretty much all over the news in 2025 since we've launched. So this consistently gets us a lot of organic traffic and organic coverage. In terms of our offenses, we've kept it very simple in terms of our skills, right? So we have our daily ultimate essentials, and what this is basically it replaces 16 different supplements in a powder, right? So it just put it in the water, mix it, drink it. It has all of your multivitamins, CoQ10, MSM, probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics, all your adaptogens, greens, antioxidants, so everything in one because I'm not, when you start taking supplements, it's actually very difficult to maintain that because you have to start taking 5, 6, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 supplements. And it just becomes a very convenient and simple way. And if you think about the cost wise, this is, roughly 89 US on a monthly basis. But if you had to purchase these 16 different supplements, it'll easily cost you, close to $300. The other skill that we have is Daily Ultimate Longevity. And then, so this is also a powder formulation that's targeting the 12 hallmarks of aging with 10 clinically proven compounds known to slow down the aging process. Right? Again, we only launched this skill in October. Our average order values went from 110 to 150 when we launched this pretty much overnight. So that just shows you that, when we launch a product, we have very loyal customers that want more products from us. Yeah. And the combination of these two skills is what we call the Beckham stack. Yeah. So, and the idea here is that it was designed for any individual to put 2 sachets in water and just drink it in the morning. In terms of key growth drivers for 2026, in 25, we've been predominantly just Meta and Google, but this year we're already starting to experiment with, TikTok Shop, YouTube, App Lovin. So we do believe diversification of new channels is going to create new opportunities for customer acquisition. We're working on new website marketing organization across many different countries. New products. We're looking to release 2 new products by the end of the year, and new global ambassadors. We utilize a lot of AI in what we do from a marketing perspective, a persona perspective, new landing pages that are targeting specific individuals. So as mentioned, we're going to diversify away and not be so dependent on Meta and Google with additional platforms. The market localization, these are the countries that we're going to start in. And as mentioned, we're going to have 2 new skills, and these 2 new skills we do believe are going to be very big opportunities in the health, sports, and wellness categories. Our financial guidance, for 2026, and we project that we'll be able to do roughly 180 million to 200 million in full year revenue, which is a 300% year over year growth over 2025. We expect that we will be able to maintain or even be able to increase our gross margins because as we continue to grow, we will be able to have more leverage with our suppliers, logistics, all of our partners, and we do expect that this will be higher than 60%. Yeah, so just ending here is that we have successfully transformed Prenetics into one of the fastest growing consumer brands in the world in basically the last 14 to 15 months. And we do believe we are on a $1 billion path, evidenced by our strong brand. And if you talk to people on the ground, a lot of people have tried the product, or if they're not, they've definitely heard of the brand and the products. Yeah, so it's a very exciting time for us. Yeah, and we'll open it up for questions right now.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Danny. And as a reminder to folks, they can submit questions using the Zoom Q&A interface at the bottom of the screen. Maybe we can just start though with giving a picture of, sort of the typical Prenetics customer. Is
Mhm.
IM8 only for athletes like your ambassadors, or is there a wider audience and, what makes it compelling in the overall wellness space?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not just for athletes, right? I know I'm not an athlete, right? Yeah, but I take 1, 2 doses on a daily basis, right? So, and then I think the reason why we are using athletes, again, you think about Nike, right? Not everyone's an athlete, right? But I think for athletes, they have so many options when it comes to this category, right? And they don't need to endorse anything that they're not taking themselves. So that just becomes a great credibility for us when we do have such amazing athletes which are on the product. So our typical customer is actually anywhere between ages of 30 to 60, right? Top 10% of household incomes, and ultimately they just want the best, right? They don't want to be juggling multiple pills. They want to make sure that hey, whatever they're taking is clean, third party tested, made in the US. And so all these different things checks out the marks. And we have athletes that are not just supporting and endorsing, these are also shareholders of the brand and product.
Great context. Thank you. And I think, one of the most exciting things has been the growth. As you pointed out, among, the fastest ever in the industry. So could you talk a little bit about, your confidence in the continued growth and what some of the assumptions are behind the guidance you've issued?
Yeah, so we're very confident about the continued growth, right? Because if you think about it, I mean, we're only roughly 14 months into the brand, right? And we're 100% direct to consumer. And why we're confident is that we are in 31 countries, right? So I mentioned that earlier in the start. So only 40% of our revenue in the US. Typically, a lot of supplement brands, they'll start in the US, yeah, but they'll take a roughly 3 to 4 years before they even think internationally. So we are international from day one. And then so there's a lot of opportunities for growth in all of our markets, right? Again, US, Canada, UK, yeah, Europe, Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, UAE. These are all markets that we are seeing double-digit growth, on a quarterly basis. Yeah. And again, I think we're also been only utilizing 2 channels, right? Meta and Google, right? So we haven't even tapped into TikTok, right? And the reason why is that um, I don't believe we can do everything well at the same time. So last year we cracked Meta, right? We spent a lot of time on that engine. And then so when we go into TikTok, when we go into YouTube, when we go into AppLovin, I do believe we can crack each of these channels. But of course, it takes time, it takes focus, and takes resources to be able to do so, right? So given that we're still very limited in what we've been able to do, so that gives us significant confidence to be able to meet these revenue targets.
Very helpful. And a follow-up question, does the guidance for this year include, the new products you mentioned, Project Alpha and Beta, or is that also separate?
Those are separate. Yeah, so we haven't factored those in. Yeah, so I think there is, I think again, because it's very difficult to say how these things will launch because it says you never know, right? But I think with at least our 2 skills and the Beckham stack, this is what we're projecting for 2026. Okay, but we're also confident in terms of these 2 new skills that these will be hero products and best in class in its category. And that will drive a lot of growth, as we head into 2027.
Makes sense. Danny, could you talk a little bit, and Stephen, about the economics of the business? I think you gave gross margin, guidance, but how should customers or, investors think about, um, sales and marketing spend sort of, as a stable function of the business and, customer acquisition
Mhm.
costs relative to lifetime value, that sort of stuff?
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, great question, Alex. I think key thing, as mentioned, is that hey, we're only 14 months, 14, 15 months into the brand right now. So from a marketing perspective, we definitely want to continue investing in the brand and growth, right?
Mhm.
So you'll see this year, right? I mean, right now, last year, I think, our marketing as a percentage of revenue was roughly 45%. We're probably going to bump it up to 45 to 50%. And that's a function because we want to invest in the moat in terms of the brand, right? So you'll see us doing more partnerships, more deals. We're investing also in clinical trials this year. So, for example, we have three new clinical trials that are about to be started. Yeah, working with a clinical research organization, one with the Mayo Clinic as well. And again, so why are we doing this? It's very rare that you have a supplement brand doing three clinical trials, and we're doing this all at the same time, and we hope to complete this by the end of the year. But going back to your question, the unit economics, customer acquisition, brand, these are all things that we're investing in growth this year, and especially we also have the capital to do so, right?
Very helpful. And just one follow-up on that, has the divestment of assets, enabled you to sort of focus on IM8 and has that streamlined some of the economics? Is there any streamlining
Yeah,
left?
100%. I think if you look at last year, right? Even look at our SG&A costs, a lot of that, was due to a lot of our non-core assets. We had to write a lot of the assets off, took a loss on some of those. And again, it was more of a distraction having to manage all those other business units. And so, same for Steve and myself, right? So I think you'll see efficiencies significantly improve due to those divestments.
Great, thanks. And then just, one more question, on Bitcoin. I know you've mentioned, historically it was, of interest to the company and over time it's taken less of
Mhm.
an interest. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I think we started, at the time it was June of 2025, right? So we started, that buying Bitcoin, a little bit Bitcoin, and now we hold roughly about 510 Bitcoin. But it was very you know, obvious to us, by the end of Q4 last year that, the business ramped up very significantly, hitting 10 million monthly revenue by December, right? And then the reality is, Bitcoin also, to be fair, it was a distraction. So what we've said, basically on December 4th is that we stopped buying any Bitcoin and we will not buy any Bitcoin in the future as well. And with the current Bitcoin, it's fungible. Yeah, so if we need it, we can definitely sell it. But for the time being, we just treat it as a treasury asset, similar to our fixed deposits that we put into, JP Morgan or something like that. And you can also see that I think, given on that part in terms of the treasury and et cetera, wise, again, we have 160 million in liquid assets, cash investments, including Bitcoin. And I'm sure you also have seen, about 2 weeks ago, we also announced a $40 million share buyback. Yeah. And we have already started in that process and have, of course, started executing on that already. Management team in the last 2 quarters, including myself, have also executed 2.75 million USD worth of open market purchases. So in total wise, we're committing up to $42.75 million just to buy back the shares. And this is realistically, great for shareholders and for the company.
Thanks for the additional context. Maybe, just pivoting to products a little bit. I know you came out with Daily, Essentials Pro. Could you talk a little bit about, how you think about formulation development and,
Mhm.
sort of the steps to do that? And, I know you mentioned a little bit about Project Alpha and Beta, but if there's anything more to share.
Yeah, so we came out with a basically a upgraded version, of our hero product, the Essential called Essentials Pro. And this process, to be fair, it takes quite a long process, right? Because we have a big team of scientific advisory board members, and then we have to get alignment from each one of these individuals. Okay, so in terms of saying, how should we think about what's the latest science, what are ingredients, that we should add, what are dosages that we should also add. So this work was, I would say, a easy 6 to 9 months. right? From the time we started to the time we got it out to the market, it has been very well received, right? Not only did we upgrade clinical dosages of key ingredients, yeah, such as magnesium, MSM, vitamin D, K2, et cetera, et cetera. We also introduced two new flavors, yeah, to proactively combat flavor fatigue, right? So we introduced mango passion fruit as well as lemon orange because our base form flavor acai mixed berries is great, but everyone wants a little bit of variety, right? Yeah,
Definitely. And in terms of, product growth and
yeah.
expansion, question about, plans to expand to China.
Yeah, so a lot of people ask me about China. The reality is it's much better to be very strategic in China. And that's why, 98 out of companies in the US that go into China, they fail, right? Because whatever works outside of the US very likely will not work in China, right? Because for example, right now, 98% of our revenue is transacted on our own website. We can tell that story, right? You look at the pages, you read through all the site. We educate the consumer, but in China, no one transacts, on your own website. It's all transacted through third-party websites, like JD, Taobao, et cetera, et cetera, right? So we need to be very strategic when we think about China, but we're thinking more of end of 27 or even 28 because ultimately we want the brand to be very strong outside of China before we enter China, right? And I think by that time, we will have a very strong brand. And it's going to be a very unique proposition because you've never had a single brand, a premium brand with so amazing ambassadors that are well loved by 1.4 billion people in China. Like David is like so famous, right? In China, Sabalenka, Ali, F1, it's just, it'll be amazing to see. Yeah. And then we believe, to be fair, whatever revenue that we do outside of China, the reality is China should equal that.
Understood. Um, and another question also around product packaging. I think you've mentioned the extended formats, beyond 30-day, 90-day subscriptions, have been working well. Do you have
Hmm.
any thoughts around, a annual offering or, like a week-long trial offering?
Yeah, those things we are considering in terms of at the right time, right? Even like 6 month options, 12 month options, trial packs. For example, we're exploring trial packs. When we think about TikTok Shop, right? Because then there's like our average order value right now is like quite high, right? So over above $200, but maybe for many people they want to have a starter trial pack, right? So these are different things that we are exploring as we speak right now.
Very helpful. And I think you've mentioned, the use of AI in, your advertising, and that's been,
Everything, whole operation systems, yeah.
that's
In
that was
fact, I'm an AI right now. Just kidding.
No, that's what I was about to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, how far the scope of AI extends into the business, and yeah, if you're using it to segment
Yeah,
customers as
I
well.
think every part of the business and organization, there's a function of AI to make it more efficient or to make us more productive, right? So, give you an example how we think about this. Even, for example, tomorrow we have like a 4 hour workshop in the office where we're giving everyone Claude code, and every individual of the company must deliver something they're building in the next 30 days. Okay. It's not even optional anymore. It's mandatory. I don't care if they're in a customer service, finance, operations, HR. We have this program where I want people to be building, thinking commercially, and utilizing the power of all the available AI tools that are available to everyone, right? So it's like kind of like this mindset and mentality across the organization because I think it's like a once in a generation type of tool that will enable us to grow and be much more efficient than ever before.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
And Danny, as we head towards time, maybe, one final question for folks, that may be familiar with the health and wellness
Mhm.
space or, supplements and nutrition. but maybe new to Prenetics, what would you say to them, as final words to motivation to learn more?
Yeah, I mean, it is. Just look at what we've been able to achieve, right? I think even when, yeah, before we got into this industry, everyone told me not to get into this industry. They're like, Danny, the supplement industry, don't get into it. It's so competitive. It's like the wild, wild west, blah, 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 etc. Right? But we've been able to, in 11 months, it went from 0 to 100 million ARR. Why? Ultimately, the product works, right? If the product didn't work, we won't have such strong recurring revenues, right? People love the product, they feel the product, and we've been able to get some amazing ambassadors. And then so we've been able to merge lifestyle and science. And I do believe we are setting a new standard when it comes to this category, and everyone else is now following us, right, in terms of science-backed products. Because at the end of the day, you want to, there's so many supplements out there, right? Our supplement is 89 a month, but many people are paying 40, $50, but 40, $50 may not work, right? So, right, very likely they may not, but we're giving you a premium experience of a product that really works. And we're very proud of this last 14, 15 months. But I do believe we are also just getting started, and we have significant opportunity as we continue to grow our existing product SKUs and as we continue to launch new product SKUs into the market. And again, we have lots of cash, so we have no shortage of that. So I think it's yeah, upside, the downside, very limited, significant upside, and that's why everyone's so excited here.
I think that's a great place to end. So, thank you very much, Danny and Stephen, for sharing the Prenetics story with us. And also thank everybody listening for spending time with us today.
Great, thank you very much.